It was like a 4D dimension, 4 dimensions. We could see God. Adam and Eve walked with God himself. They could see him, okay? After the fall from the garden, we moved from 4D into 3D. But there's a term that they use called theosis that I don't hear American Christians talking about. Protestants don't talk about that. I don't even think Catholics use that word theosis. And I don't believe it's part of their doctrine. But what I really connect with when it comes to Orthodox Christianity is this term where over the course of your life, you work as hard as you can to become more and more like Christ. You become more sinless over time. You ascend higher and higher and higher in your purity. And we're kind of born in a fallen state. So if you can understand the story of Adam and Eve in the garden, once we had that original sin where Adam was told by Eve to partake of the apple after she was convinced by Satan to eat it, the knowledge of good and evil, we were punished. And we were created in a perfect paradise. And I was telling my father this, that was like a 4D dimension, 4 dimensions. We could see God. Adam and Eve walked with God himself. They could see him, okay? After the fall from the garden, we moved from 4D into 3D. And that doesn't sound like a big problem, but I mean, if you can look at the world, there's a lot of issues where humans are completely shunning the immaterial parts of life, the spiritual parts of life, and they're really, really focused only on what they can taste, touch, see, and smell. And that creates a lot of problems. But so for the theosis concept is as you come to God, as you say, okay, I want to get to take this Christian thing seriously, it's still going to take a lot on your part to make sure you're living a righteous life. I mean, look at the title of this video. The gospel of Christ can never be in union with secular logic. MM Reader says this is a bit off topic, but I oh my God. No, it's actually right on topic. MM Reader says a bit off topic, but I did Wordle today and the word was devil. I was in shock. Yeah, I think that's actually right on topic, because what Father Spirit and Bailey is telling you, as soon as you understand the truth of Christ and the power of God, you're going to see how everything you're doing in your normal life is actually very different from that. And the messages that are within the Bible, the messages that we get from the saints, the messages that we get from sacred tradition of the church is always opposing whatever the main world is doing, the regular world at large. And that's really hard for people, right? You're going to have to change the way you look at some of the things, change the way you look at how you spend your time, change the way you look at how you watch entertainment, listen to music, all these things. Like we've talked about that at length in the stream. MM Reader and I we've dedicated an entire stream to just speaking about how you change the way you listen to music, because you understand that there's a lot of evil programming that comes through it. But yeah, I think what's really important for us to remember is that God loves us, but when we were created as human beings, there's this aspect that's built into that free choice is you must choose Christ. And that's really hard for people to understand, but the way I always liken it, because I know we have a lot of visual learners in this chat, is there's a hand reaching down from heaven, and all that hand asks, this is God's hand, this is Christ's hand, is that you meet him halfway. And you just rise to the occasion and grab that hand. The hand is there for you. But there's no such thing as a free lunch, and I think that it takes effort, right? A lot of Protestant American Christians say that I am saved, as if it's a checkbox. But the Orthodox were the first people to explain to me that your salvation is kind of something you need to worry about your entire life, right? You always need to be living a righteous life. It's not like a war that you win. It's a war of attrition. It's a 99-year war, and you kind of have to be focusing on being a good person and living like Christ until your heart explodes. Like there's no real game over until you die, right? That's really the game here. But to me, instead of that being dark or that being something that would demoralize a new Christian, to me, I can see like just how much depth it is, how much more real it feels to me when I realize there's something I need to do on my end. And I personally love that piece of it when it comes to Christianity. So salvation is really important, and it's the profound difference between Christianity and other religions. But we're going to get into what Father Spirit and Bailey says, and it's a short 10-minute clip. And we'll stop halfway through and discuss as questions arise. MM Reader says, now my mind's running about this stuff, and I remember that Taco Bell's hottest sauce is called Diablo, which means devil. Yeah, it's everywhere. My understanding of how the mainstream media works and the world at large is they get you to think that the devil's not real, or the devil is just some kind of meme or cultural phenomenon. That's what was explained to me, was that the devil is just an idea that everyone believes in, but it's actually very real. And if you make the mistake of thinking that we made up the devil, I mean, that's the exact world that the devil wants. And that was kind of a cliche that Christians had told me before I started this stuff. But as I learn and as I grow, I can really see that the people who don't believe in the devil are the ones who are most victim to the temptation. But it takes a God-fearing Christian to say, okay, I understand that there's things tempting me, things that don't want me to win, and that supercharges your dreams, it supercharges your goals. If you got we have a lot of ambitious people here in the chat, and the things that you want to do are good. That's a good version of your life that you're imagining, meaning it came from God. Bomb 458 says, isn't it the case that if we as normal people see God, that we would die because he's so pure, holy, so it only makes sense that we are no longer in the fourth dimension? Yes, because if we don't see him in the third dimension. English isn't very good, but here, yes, I understand that completely, Bomb 458, and that is a perfect assessment. But what I argue, and my teachers as well, is that when we were first created, we in the garden, this paradisal, space, where all animals are living in harmony, there's no death. I want people to understand that. When humans were first created in the garden before the fall, before we ate of the apple, of the tree of the fruit. The apple, that is a cultural phenomenon. It never says apple, but the fruit of the tree of good, of knowledge of good and evil. That's kind of choppy there, but it's the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, making it so that humans now knew the same information that God was purposefully withholding from us because it knew it would lead to suffering. And any person, a Christian, atheist, Jewish person, Buddhist, Hindu, can look around and see that there's quite a bit of suffering. Bomb 458 says, I just mean that we have fallen from the state of always seeing God so that we don't die. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's a piece of it, but if you read Genesis, which is the first book of the Bible, and is also kept within the Jewish Torah, Adam was able to walk with God. And there was no... So much so that when after they first ate of the fruit, Adam and Eve were hiding from God, and it was a big deal because God was so used to talking face to face with his creation. So yes, today in our current fallen state as, three-dimensional human beings, yeah, you can never see the true face of God until you pass away, until you make it to heaven. But look, a lot of this can sound like mumbo jumbo until you start to talk to a Christian and watch how different their life is going than the secular atheist materialist. That's what I find, and that's what I've seen so apparent to me, is I was on the other team. I talk about this every single stream. I was on the other team, but I like this team far more. And I'm not switching. That's the thing. It's like, Reader and I talk about this in chat a lot, that it's not like the devil media just stops once you become a Christian. That stuff is still prevalent. That stuff is still happening, and it's going to continue to happen. So you as yourself need to put on your body, the armor of God, and make sure you can live a righteous life regardless of what your friends are doing, regardless of what even your family members may be doing, because that's a big deal. I think that needs to be kind of spoken about, is that, look, like, people around you may not be as willing as you are to dedicate your life to righteousness. But let's start the video, because the cool thing about Father Spirit and Bailey, the way he teaches and the way he speaks gets my mind going as well. So if you guys have any questions, please send them in. Don't feel like you're interrupting the video in any way, shape, or form, because I'm really here for you guys, and the discussion is what makes these streams worthwhile. I can open up YouTube on my computer anytime I want, right? The real key here is that I'm interacting with you guys. So please don't hesitate to send chats. For the new follower, Bishop Repent, send a chat in, man. Even if it's just a question or just checking in. I also love a just checking in message as well. You don't always have to send an essay in. Don't worry about it. There goes those bells. Reader was sending the bell emojis. Let me know if the focus music in the back is too loud for Bishop Marmari's speech.
In the 6th chapter of the Gospel according to St. Luke,
can you guys hear it okay?
We hear Jesus commanding us to do unto others as we would have them do unto us, to love our enemies. First, let us understand the context for this teaching of Jesus. Those crowds that heard Jesus speak, they would have known the old rabbinic saying that you mustn't do to others what you don't want them to do to you. Jesus takes this negative precept that we are not to cause harm and gives us a more demanding command. It isn't simply that we are not to cause harm, but we are to actively do the good, actively do good to others. Let us first, though, use a little discernment. Jesus in no way is saying that we should do good to others in the hope of gaining good in return. In fact, he explicitly says We must do good, we must love with no expectation of return. In fact, we must do good to those very people from whom we expect nothing in return. The very people who do not love us. This commandment goes against every worldly principle. It calls us to be vulnerable.
So one of the main reasons why I think Christianity is the truth is just how opposing the doctrines of Christ are with the natural human instinct. There's all these secular, atheist, materialist arguments that they believe that the doctrine of Christianity was just created by man. But if you want to take about like a low level proof, is if you can look at what the book is saying in the words of Jesus Christ and what he asks of us, it's the antithesis of what the natural human reaction would be. The natural human reaction is someone slaps you, you slap them back, right? That's exactly what happens. But if you can look at the grander scheme of your life, this is something that's actionable for every chatter in here. Do you necessarily need to become a priest tomorrow? No. But what you can do is all the times you were hurt in your life, right? We're human beings, we're going to get hurt. If you can go ahead, even just mentally, if you don't see that person anymore, whatever the case may be, and forgive that person, that is what Christ is talking about. Where you're not forgiving that person because you hope they buy you chocolates the next day, or you hope they get you a gift this Christmas. It could be a person you'll literally never see again. You are forgiving them because it's the commandment of Christ, and you just will watch how much you feel better. When you're not expecting anything in return, that's the thing. Forgiveness that's conditional, I think, is such low value stuff. Right? If you forgive someone because you hope that they, buy your stuff, or just you'll forgive someone who has wronged you because you hope something else will come out the other end. But when you understand forgiveness in and of itself is a gift to you, I think you just become a naturally better person. There's a chatter in here that's also a close friend of mine in real life, Hugh with KG, who has said quite brilliantly that the more he loves Christ, the more he loves himself, the more he loves others. And to the secular atheist mind, that doesn't make any sense. But I tell you, once you jump on this team, once you join this community of people who put Christ first and really make that the leading guide stone in everything that they do, you'll see exactly what he's talking about. All goodness comes from God. I was telling my brother this the other day, and it kind of clicked for him that the word good, we get it from God. Do you think it's a coincidence that they're spelled so similarly? If something is good, it's because it came from God. And I had another question asked to me one time. It says, okay, Valentino, if you're telling me that my thoughts are being influenced by the world, how do I know if they're good thoughts or bad thoughts? And I would just say that the marker is how you feel. Sin almost doesn't even need to be explained to a person because they already feel bad. Even if you can't define the sin and find in the Bible where Jesus told us not to do that, that is irrelevant. It's from a certain perspective. You will know you're doing the wrong thing in life because it creates a negative reaction within the body. You feel guilt, you feel shame, you hide. I was telling another friend of mine, that's what I'm really realizing is it started with just the twitch.tv, essentially coaching my viewers. And it's really turned into where people who know me in my personal circles have seen that I'm talking about these topics, are interested in these topics. And they'll call me and ask for a quick tip or, what is the Christian perspective on X, Y, or Z? And you can really, really start to see that is very true. That is very, very, very true. That it's this, you will feel bad when you do the wrong thing. There's a thinker that I really admire named John Zerka, and he was quoted in an interview saying that when someone fucks up, you're only ever moving one of two directions. You can never be stuck. We use the word stuck as a colloquial term amongst human beings to say, oh, I'm stuck, I'm not doing too good, I'm stuck. You're really never stuck. You're either moving up the ladder or down the ladder, right? If you don't have friends, peers, groups of people around you that are lifting you up, making you feel like you're doing a better job on a day-to-day basis, you are actually being moved down the ladder. You're regressing. There is no net neutral position in life. I think you can notice that when you watch birth and then you move all the way to death. You're constantly progressing down some line. And some argue that time is just a construction of our imagination, but what I'm really finding is, just for the sake of this example, that should really tell you you don't stop the clock. I don't care how much you like being 25, you can't stop the clock on 25. It's not going to work. So the much is true about, the spiritual sense of your life is you're either ascending towards God or you're descending back into sinful nature. And you don't really need to be told. That's why I'm saying I really believe that the God-fearing perspective is the natural perspective. It's the default position for a human being. It's in your DNA. It's in your DNA. You know when you're being terrible to other people. You know when you are doing the right thing by others. You know when you're doing the right thing by yourself. Are you prioritizing yourself? Are you exercising self-control? Are you self-sabotaging? MM Reader says that's why you have to be super particular about who you spend your time with, because they will either lift you up the ladder or drag you down with them. I agree, and I think that's perfectly put. That's perfectly put. There is no net neutral. A lot of people believe that this thing that they're doing, yeah, it's not good, but they think that, oh, maybe it's neutral. It's not bad or good, it's fine, it's okay. We'll use words like that, fine, okay, all these things. It's impossible. You're either moving up or down. And good geniuses, evil geniuses have written about this for thousands of years. When you do things that are against the will of God, you feel terrible. It's just, there's no other way that it can be. So that same thinker that I really love and really respect, John Zerka, says, you feel it in your heart when you're doing the wrong thing. It does not need to be taught to a person who's fucking up that they're fucking up. I talk to atheists and these secular types, these people, oh, I believe in science and that's the only structure to my thinking, and they're not happy. These are people who are struggling with things, but I've got a good, like as MM Reader's talking about creating a network, I've got a good network of people around me, and I watch them go through struggle, right? That's the thing. If you become a Christian, you just heal faster. This is what I find. You become fireproof. When you really put your life, your work, your family, your relationships, your everything into God's hands. You say, okay, I can't do this anymore by myself. You hold it, okay? I'll work conscientiously, but God now becomes the steersman of the ship. You're the rower, right? That's the relationship that takes place. You heal so much. You become fireproof. You'll have a bad morning, and then by nighttime, you're okay. I've noticed this about people, but it's those secular types. I only believe in science and chemicals in my brain and space and planets and stars. Those types of people, that bad day turns into a bad week. And then the bad week becomes a bad month. And you'll talk to them months later, and they're still in a rut, because they're not leveraging the tools that are available for Christians. A Christian has prayer, right? I'll wake up one morning, I don't feel great, okay? You just pray, and you work on your work, and you understand that God is steering the ship. All you need to do is row. That's really the game here. And there's a video that I created on my Instagram. I'm not going to pull it up right now, but you guys can try to go find it, where it just kind of talks about the shifting of the goalpost, okay? For all the people that are on their journeys, right? Every chatter in here is doing a different thing. Not everyone's doing what I'm doing. Maybe you want to do what I'm doing, and that's why you're watching, or you just want more well-rounded advice. Is when you start your journey of the self-individuation process, becoming the best version of yourself that you can be, okay? You're going to start with this. You're going to start with X, okay? Let's just say. Over some time of working on X, you really will realize maybe you need to do Y, and it starts to change. Not because you gave up, not because you found a different industry. It will just naturally morph and change. Then you're doing Y, and now Z comes along, and you're like, okay, I'm actually doing this, and it could look completely different from where you started. But now that I've had some experience working on myself, working on different products, services for people, and really trying to be as of service as I can be to the world at large, people in my personal life, people online, whatever the case may be, I can really realize that God is actually guiding the ship the whole time. And he keeps moving the goalposts because he understands that if you stagnate and you stop and you say, I'm done, you try to check a box and say complete, that's when you're most vulnerable to temptation. That's when the devil says, okay, he paused, let's attack. Father Spirit and Bailey says you could be in your 80s. You're 85 years old, you have some grandkids, all these things, and Satan doesn't go away. You must still choose the righteous life each morning. That's really the game here. So I believe, in my personal belief, and that's why I titled the stream what I titled it, Why Does God Do the Things He Does? The best way I can put that into words is he moves the goalpost so that you keep evolving. There never comes a day where you figured everything out. This is another thing I tell my brother all the time. Steve Jobs has problems, or had problems. Andrew Tate has problems. The President of the United States has problems. It's not that you have problems because you're at a low level. If you're at a low level, the problems don't go away. The thing that the individual has control over is to choose which problems they want to solve. You should not see a problem and get discouraged. You should see the problem and say, this is something for me to attack. This is something for me to conquer. This is for something that I can gain the knowledge and skills to getting through this problem. This way I can be a better service to other people. I was talking to another one of my friends. I've had a lot of people reach out to me within the last few weeks. And they come from different walks of life. They're going through different things. And sometimes there'll be years in between when we have spoken. And it's not a coincidence that my buddy's going through something that I have something to throw at. He'd be going through a specific situation. I'd be like, wow, okay, that really connects with what happened to me here. Really fucking sucked for me, but I'll just give you what I learned. And boom, you shortcut that kid's growth. He doesn't need to suffer as long as you did. And I think that that's the Christian perspective on suffering. If you read the Bible or get as involved in these teachings as I have, you will see that the Christian perspective on suffering is you suffer so others don't have to. And to me, that's enough. That's enough, I find. If that was the only doctrine of Christianity, it would make sense to me. Like, I would be like, okay, I'm in. You know what I mean? But that's just one aspect of the truth that comes from Jesus Christ of Nazareth, right, in his teachings. But if you can just think about Jesus Christ suffering on the cross, right? That logo is posted above my head at all times. It's you can see it's actually in the stream. It's no matter what screen it's on, it'll be there. And when he suffers on the cross and dies for us, it is the prime example that your suffering is in the name of the betterment of others. So MM Reader says, so insanely powerful. You suffer so others don't have to. I had to write it out. Yeah. And I think you should look at everything in your life that way. Even if you don't even know the person at this current moment who it will benefit. The things you're dealing with, God is putting you through that because he knows you can handle it, right? Nothing happens in this world without the permission of the Almighty. Things are happening to you. It's kind of brutal. You're going to learn. You're going to get the experience. You're going to get the solutions that you had to sweat to figure out and then pass it on to another individual. Oftentimes in the future, right? If we have a lot of young men in here, you're learning situations and you're learning problems, the solutions to problems, so your sons can be better than you. This is what I've learned by studying my own journey and then talking to my father, talking to my grandfather. The things that they have to do to get to where they had to go is now tools that I have at my disposal that they didn't have. But that's why God does it to us. And I think you can kind of relax a little bit in the face of a problem when you understand that life is not the avoidance of problems. It's getting better and stronger so that the problems don't knock you down too long. You get right back up. That's what I find. So you can try to connect it to a worldly example, like some leader in an industry that you really respect, and understand that he has problems. Elon Musk is the richest man on the planet, and he's got a lot of problems. It's not like once you hit it big and you get money, there's no more problems. What a human being's sole responsibilities is, what problems do I want to solve? And if you can keep that, MM Reader, you can keep that you suffer so others don't have to in mind, you will never waver when things get hard because you understand that you're going through things that's not just for you. And I think that that's a really important message. And Hugh with KG had asked me once, what's something that you could go back in time and tell younger Valentino that you wish you knew then? And I would probably say that as well. I think we could add that to the list of things that I wish younger Valentino knew, is that I'm suffering at the current moment to help other people. And that is more fulfilling than a paycheck. That is more fulfilling than cool shit. That's more fulfilling than having fun on the weekends. Like, that's what I really find here is once I was able to get into the live format with twitch.tv or our wonderful school community that is posted below here. Bomb458 says, I sent you a text on Instagram because it's too long on Twitch. All right, bro, I'll get out to you. I'm going to wrap up here in a couple minutes, so I'll get to you then. Thank you, Bomb458. I'll message you, bro. If you can have that perspective that I have now, it's more fulfilling than anything I've ever done in my life. Once I was able to move into the school.com space, move into the twitch.tv space, and I realized that the ideas that are coming out of my mouth are helping people, that is the most fulfilling thing a human can do. So not everyone needs to be a Twitch streamer. Not everyone needs to own their school.com, and like do the same shit I'm doing. I'm very clear about that. Every single stream I say that. But there's some obstacle in your way that God put there so you can help another person. So with that, I want to close. So this, like I said, this was just a quick one. I wanted to come on here and update you guys on what I've been working on, what's moving forward for Only Valentino. And I think we got some fantastic content here, and I hope it was of service to you. Bomb458 says you can show it on stream. I'm gonna get at you on my phone, bro, and just DM me that way. But thanks for posting your questions. I hope everyone got to have a good look at what we do here on school.com. And there's another key aspect that I want to highlight is stream recaps. So let's say you're a big fan of the channel and a Thursday night comes up like tomorrow and you're busy, right? We're human beings, we're busy. You can't tune into the stream. If you have access to the school.com community, there's a stream recap that's posted in it. I'm going to show you every link of every video that was shown, the main key points. And that's a great way that current members have been able to stay caught up at a glance, right? That's really something that is unique to school.com. Does not exist on my Instagram, does not exist on my Twitter, doesn't exist on the website. But yeah, guys, I feel really good about that. My explanation there, I know that's a banger. And I can't wait for my editing team to get a hold of this. That's why I've changed my brain type to now foresee incoming edits. It's incredible what you guys can do when you leverage short form clips. But that's a side note. We can do a whole content growth episode later in the week if you guys are interested. So God bless everybody. Living with 333 is right on the ball. Sent a highlighted message with channel points saying confess Christ. Christ is Lord. Christ is King, guys. And I think the younger you are in here, I know I've got people watching that are 16, 17, 18, whatever the case may be. If you can understand that the solution you've been looking for your entire life is actually Christ, you're going to be miles ahead of me. So shouts out to everybody in here. MM Reader says, God bless everyone. MM Reader sent a highlighted message, Christ is King. Christ is King, guys. I'm actually not going to play the outro music this time. I got to get very clear on copyrighted content. Started to get some flags. I mean, that's nothing for you guys to worry about. That's really on my end. But yeah, God bless everyone. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. This was just a short episode, but I'm happy I was able to see everybody. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks, guys.